all started more than 20 years ago, when many of us were still pups. Two big men, though one was small in stature, gave birth to the Winfield Cup. Since that time there've been many who've played the game to the end. They played it tough, but they played it fair, and walked off the field as friends. That's what the big game's all about, giving it the best you can. Playing like a mortal, then playing like Superman. Giving it all you know, giving it your best shot, 'cause there are no second prizes, you're a winner or you're not. Who will it be this year? A small man walking tall, or a big man even bigger to collect the greatest prize of all?
As sad a notion as it might be, welcome to this, the 8th and final episode of the captivating Winfield Cup Magic Memory Series, which has allowed lovers of league to relive the key moments from club football between 1982 and 1995. It's been a festival of power, passion and pride that emphasises all the great elements of our sport. Winfield Cup Magic Memories presents another moment of satisfaction to Canterbury Bankstown supporters as we hark back to the minor semi-final of 1983. The meeting with keen rival St George at the SCG produced one of the most thrilling post-season affairs of the past 2 decades, although that was of little consolation to Saints supporters who saw their team bow out of contention on the back of a nerve-wracking 26-24 loss.
Now he turns it back inside. This time to Farah. Farah again with a great pass on the Mortimer. Mortimer in front, got a try for Canterbury, and that's the sort of football they're famous for. Oh, what a try!
Semi-final football was the furthest thing away from the minds of the South Queensland camp when they entered the Winfield Cup in 1995. As the new kids on the block in a city driven by Bronco fever, the Crushers were desperate to assert their credibility early in their existence. However, they soon discovered that establishing a club takes time, and the first few weeks brought little joy. After 4 successive defeats, the Crushers finally broke their duck in stunning fashion by outgunning North Sydney, who were semi-finalists the previous season, 16-12 before a rapturous following at Suncorp Stadium. 3 excellent team tries made it a day that those who had worked so hard to get the club off the ground would never forget. Needless to say, the result of our last Magic Memory wasn't as enthusiastically received in Sydney's northern suburbs, where people were beginning to wonder whether the Bears were going backwards without the likes of Mario Fennick and Sean Hoppy in their lineup. However, instead of going into hibernation with an outbreak of embarrassment, the Bears responded like the professional unit they are. 7 days after that shock defeat in Brisbane, Norths came out breathing fire to record the biggest victory in the club's 87-year history. The 60-6 scoreline made it an Easter Sunday that the North Queensland Cowboys would certainly want to forget, as the home side ran riot. Absolution wasn't far away for the Cowboys though, and they made a strong bid for the Upset of the Decade prize in round 8 when they notched their maiden premiership win against Illawarra, who have traditionally been one of the league's harder sides to beat on home turf. Just a fortnight after being butchered by the Bears, North Queensland left Wollongong with a 14-10 verdict that sent a clear message to the rest of the rugby league world that they weren't around just to make up the numbers.
A try. The referee is consulting the touchy. It is a try. Vowles gets the try for the Cowboys.
By the end of the 1989 season, it wasn't hard to understand why Penrith were pleased to see the back of Balmain. In the final round of the home and away season, the Tigers gave their fellow felines a 27-point hammering at Leichhardt, and when the two sides met 7 days later in the major preliminary semi-final, the result wasn't that much different, as Balmain ran out comfortable 24-12 winners against a Penrith unit that began the match with the experienced Chris Mortimer on the bench.
Elias again, is he going to do it again? Very nearly, it passed it forward. Forward! Oh, and he's allowed it to go through. And Freeman's going to score. Jeez, I think he'll have nightmares about that try.
Alexander, good ball for Fittler. He ran to the gap and the pass was there to meet him from Alexander.
The score is 24 points to Balmain and 12 points to Penrith.
After two consecutive beltings from Balmain, Penrith were well and truly on the ropes as a serious title contender in 1989, and a week later, the knockout blow to their prospects was delivered by Canberra, who claimed the minor semi-final 27 points to 18.
Stay in the goal. Ferguson's down there quickly. Great tackle, he lost it! Try! Canberra! Unbelievable! Meninga again, quick play of the balls now. Long pass out for Wood. He takes on Izzard. He beats him. He'll score. The Raiders' back line has cut loose again. Try. Sheens is screaming out some instructions from the sideline.
Just move it wide to the left. They've got him outside.
Long pass out. Matthew Wood. Back for Ferguson. Unloads for Lazarus. Stewart. Quick hands for Walters. Can he unload? He can. O'Sullivan's got support. Belcher. Meninga's got infield. Martin. Inside. Izzard. He'll get in the corner. They've done it again through their back line.
In this 8th and final episode of Winfield Cup Magic Memories, we're about to welcome you into one of Rugby League's most exclusive clubs. It's a rather hallowed lineup consisting of players who have scored over 100 tries with the one club. In 1991, another member was inducted when Brett Kenny grabbed his 100th touchdown for the Eels before his adoring fans at Parramatta Stadium. 3 years later, it was the turn of another of League's excitement machines to crack the century when Andrew Ettinghausen raced over for this typical try against Balmain at Caltex Field. For much of 1982, Eastern Suburbs walked along a tightrope, particularly late in the season when it looked as though the minor premiers from the previous 2 years might miss out on the top 5 altogether. Of course, the Roosters did manage to qualify, and in their first sudden death engagement, they withstood a furious finish from Western Suburbs to win 11-7. The tension wasn't going to abate for Bobby Fulton's brigade, however, as North Sydney pushed them every inch of the way in the minor semi-final at the Sydney Cricket Ground. After leading 10-0 at half-time through tries to Les Cleal and Ron Gitto, the Roosters had to batten down the hatches, with Norths replying via tries to Don McKinnon and Larry Kelly. But in the end, the difference proved to be a second-half penalty goal to Gitto and a missed conversion by Kelly. And so it was Easts who carried on to the final against Parramatta after this rather unconvincing 12-10 result. 24 hours later, it was the turn of Rugby League's two big guns to strut their stuff at headquarters. The major semi-final between Manly, Warringah and Parramatta was expected to be a toss-of-the-coin affair, but turned out to be one-way traffic as the Eagles soared well above the defending champions. Manly were quickly installed as the new title favourites after demolishing the Eels by an amazing 20 points to 0, with their ironclad defence being supplemented by a pair of tries to teenage sensation Phil Blake and this runaway effort by Johnny Rebo. Exactly a decade on from that triumph by Manly, there were two fresh faces fighting it out for the first grand final berth. Brisbane were raging hot favourites in the 1992 major semi against Illawarra, and after an early struggle with the enthusiastic Steelers, they compiled a professional victory that justified the faith of their many backers.
David Walsh in 40 there for the Steelers. Kevin Walters to Willie Carr. They read it well. He's got support coming. O'Neill. Cross is there. O'Neill back inside to Kevin Walters. He started it and he added the cream. Still they have a big backline set. Kerrod Walters from dummy half. Back for Madison. To Langer. Langer takes on Riolo and does him. The Broncos in that vital last 5 before half-time come up with the big play. The Broncos want to try. Langer runs at the line. Langer steps his way right through. The little captain with a try that will probably take them straight through to the grand final. Matthew, is a field goal still on mind?
I think so. Definitely 13 points would certainly put Illawarra out of contention, but knowing the Brisbane side, they're well time.
Put it down to Langer. We were thinking and talking about one. Langer never had any more than another 4 on his mind.
And there were plenty of 4-pointers registered in the preliminary final of 1989 when South Sydney's dreams of glory were shattered by a Canberra side that seemed to be getting better with each outing. For the poor old Rabbitohs, who had finished the minor premiership 5 points clear of their nearest rival, the damage was done early, with the Green Machine scoring 2 tries in the first 6 minutes of play. Souths recovered to 12 all at half-time, but the second stanza saw Canberra pile on the power in a 32-16 success that escorted them to a grand final appointment with Balmain.
Here's Stewart. Turned the pass back inside for Coyne, and then it went on to Belcher. Looks for support, found it too from Wallace. A pass that was forward. It was a forward pass to O'Sullivan. He's allowed it. He's allowed it, but I reckon that pass was forward. Only 10 metres from the halfway mark as O'Sullivan picks it up. And away goes O'Sullivan, trying to link up with Belcher. Does so. Belcher into the clear. Turns the pass back inside for Clyde. Clyde found support too from Wood. Wood still going. Wood looking for the line. The pass is bounced once to Belcher. Try to Belcher. And the Raiders is at a grand final berth.
I certainly hope that it's not going to be a talking point next week in the grand final. Lazarus, is he going to reach out? Yes, right next to the post. The Raiders are back. Throws the ball away. It's all over. The siren has gone. In 1989, it will be the Canberra Raiders taking on the Balmain Tigers. Mal Meninga and company up against Wayne Pearce and the coach of the 80s, Warren Ryan. They did it today, 32-16.
Alas for South Sydney fans, the outcome is much the same in our next Magic memory, which takes us back to the fiery minor semi-final of 1986 at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The Rabbitohs were tied up at 8-all after the first 40 minutes, but the nature of the game changed remarkably early in the second half when South skipper Mario Fenech was sent off by referee Kevin Roberts. With the red and greens down on manpower, the Balmain Tigers took over in the last 25 minutes of play and raced in 4 tries that inflated the final score to 36-11.
On to Gale, now to Brooks. Brooks goes over the top of them. Schofield. Cuts him out. Intercepted by Schofield. Don't worry about chasing. I don't think there's a hope in the world. Thank you, linesman. Thank you, ball boys. Schofield scores his third.
The Tigers' hopes of going a step further were shattered a week later, though, when they confronted a chastened Canterbury outfit that had been embarrassed by Parramatta in the major semi. By the second last Sunday in September, it was clear that fatigue was starting to catch up with Balmain, who had made it that far against the expectations of many after qualifying for the top 5 from a playoff defeat at North Sydney. The Tigers' weariness combined with Canterbury's desire to chase a hat-trick of Winfield Cups gave the Blue and Whites a 28-16 result and a rematch with Parramatta in the big one of 86.
10 metres out from the Balmain line now. Away for Boyd to give to Sigsworth, now to Dunn. And Dunn gets a ball back inside for Lamb. What a great try. Gary Jack has busted Canterbury. He's running hard. Sigsworth won't catch him. Jack has run around him and gone on to score.
Speaking of those great battles between Canterbury and Parramatta, brings us to the major semi-final of 1984, when those two giant clubs collided at league headquarters. After finding themselves down by 6-0 10 minutes into the match, the Bulldogs recovered to demonstrate the qualities that carried them to the minor premiership. With their early cobwebs brushed away, Canterbury notched 3 tries that earned them a methodical 16-8 win, and the first grand final berth of 84 was theirs.
The Parramatta defensive line. It's not as though the defensive line is coming up to meet the attack. Kelly puts up the kick. And, it's a try for Shoreham for certain. It's a try for Canterbury, scored by Chris Mortimer. 4 metres from the line. Folkes will score. Folkes have scored for Canterbury. The Eels absolutely falling apart there.
The Winfield Cup has brought us some amazing games of football since 1982, but the way that Brisbane performed against Parramatta midway through the 1995 season simply defies description. With 40 minutes gone, the Eels, who were fixtures at the foot of the ladder, led the Star-Spangled Bronco lineup by 14 points to 6, and an upset was not out of the question. That was until an unheralded tornado swept through the stadium. League historians scurried to their record books after the Broncos piled on a staggering 54 points in a sizzling second stanza. When the dust had settled, it was revealed that no team had registered more points in one half of football since 1935, when St George murdered Canterbury by the inconceivable scoreline of 91-6. Now here's a rarity for you sports fans, a magic memory with more than one application. This footage may look familiar to you because in a previous episode we showed how Canterbury icon Terry Lamb broke Jeff Gerard's record for the most first grade matches played in Australian Rugby League history. But while Barbar's milestone snatched most of the attention this day, his teammate Daryl Halligan was out on the flanks churning out the points. Halligan's 20-point haul against the Magpies in the final round of 1994 ensured that he would be the competition's highest point scorer for the 4th season in succession.
Flicks it to McCracken. McCracken gives it to Halligan. He's over. Daryl Halligan. They don't get much harder than this, but he's just laughed in the face of the difficulty so far. He's done it again. It's extraordinary, this man. Extraordinary.
The word extraordinary could also be applied to the major preliminary semi-final of 1988, which saw Canterbury edge out Canberra 1918, just as they did in their next semi-final encounter 6 years later. On this occasion, however, extra time wasn't required, and the late dismissal of Canberra forward Dean Lance took away the impetus the Raiders had generated after coming from 16-6 down to draw level. In the end, it was the reliable boot of Terry Lamb that sent the Doggies a step closer to the big one.
Lamb shaped a kick. They left it open for Lamb, and Langmack will score next to the post. Canberra sat back and just waited for Terry Lamb to do what he liked.
Alsham for Lamb. Moves, dummies, run around the flick back for Farah, stands in the tackle. Now he gets the ball unloaded to Folkes for Thomas. After Dunn, they had some numbers. He should have kept going the same way. Now Lamb will score. In the end, he got a great ball away.
He used 3 just solitary running plays in that situation.
Crossfield goes Stewart and gives it back to Gilbert, and Gilbert scores! Back for Lamb again. Kick charge down by Jackson. Jackson's picked it up. Play on at the referee. Jackson is up to the corner line. Jackson is away. Jackson is going to score for Canberra. Jackson scores. Plenty of action here as Lamb tries a field goal, and it's there. Canterbury stick their nose in front.
Outside of grand finals, there haven't been many more emotional afternoons than this one from the second last round of 1994, which saw Balmain bid farewell to Leichhardt Oval, its home ground of 60 years. The final match there before the Tigers changed their stripes and moved across to Parramatta Stadium was against Penrith, but no fairy tale was forthcoming as the visitors overcame the eventual Wooden Spooners 22-10. The only consolation for Balmain was that one of their favourite sons, Timmy Brasher, enjoyed the honour of scoring the last try on their cherished but outdated arena.
Balmain, 40 metres out, McNeil, the wrap around with Robinson. Oh, Stewart's gone without it. Picked up by Fittler. Away to Robbie Beckett. Shut the gate. They won't catch him. One of the quickest men in rugby league. And Beckett streaks away. And Penrith are starting to rain on Balmain's parade here at Leichhardt. Balmain trying to put something into the hearts and souls of their many supporters who've come out to say goodbye to Leichhardt. McNeil gets it away. Timmy Brasher, probably the best player on the field, scores a deserving try. And so Benny Elias, has he played his last game at home in Balmain colours? Kevin Humphreys there in shot as well, as the Balmain supporters and the players say farewell to Leichhardt Oval. Dawn Fraser and some of the greats of yesteryear. Mrs. Elias, Benny's mum crying as well. And Benny Elias and Balmain say farewell to Leichhardt.
If you're a Manly Warringah supporter, you might feel the need to avert your eyes for a few moments as Winfield Cup Magic Memories brings you a double dose of Bronco brilliance. When these two glamour clubs met in the first sudden death semi-final of 1993, the Queenslanders were playing with fire in their bellies after being dumped from the top three by St George a week earlier. With the premiership crown they had assumed in 1992 on the line, Brisbane showed the fabulous qualities that had made them such worthy champs by sweeping the Sea Eagles aside 38-10.
Kevin, the Kieran Walters out to Kevin. He goes into a giant hole. Here's Madison. He's on his way. Elsgood brings him down. Is it a double movement? Elsgood away from it now. Oh, complete break by Jack Elsgood. Now, see if they can catch him. I don't think they can. Elsgood's very fast. Elsgood, the rookie of the year. He goes over to score. Right. Kevin Walters. Willie Carr caught it and kicked it in one action. Scooped up by Michael Hancock. Now away to Kevin Walters. Oh, shut the gate. Alan Cairn. They're in the centre of the field. And they're just reaching the 20-metre line now as Kevin Walters gives it for John Platt. Platt runs around and through, turns it back, and another try, this time for Willie Carr.
Deja vu was thick in the air at the Sydney Football Stadium when Brisbane ejected Manly in the corresponding match 12 months later. A hat-trick of premierships was still very much on the agenda for the Broncos, and even though they encountered much sterner resistance from the Eagles on this occasion, the 16-4 scoreline was enough for them to stay alive in the Winfield Cup's mad scramble for glory.
Now they're 5 metres out from the line. What are they going to do? They come left to their captain, across to the playmaker. It's with Cliffy Lyons, a decoy run, then Moore. Moore gets it away. Ryan! It's down for a try. Still pretty much in the centre of the ground as Walters goes out from dummy half, puts the run around together with Langer. Home, there's a try coming. Yes! Try! Scored by Peter Ryan. 5 tackles are gone. Brisbane with Hancock a dummy half. Goes himself, Hancock. Gets over the line. Puts it down. That's a try. Hancock denied earlier, but not now.
After those two downers, the vision before us will certainly gladden the hearts of all you rabid Manly fans. 13 was certainly a lucky number for the Seasiders when they subdued an enthusiastic Western Reds lineup at Brookvale Oval in June 1995. The 44-24 scoreline was Manly's 13th straight success and established a new record for the best ever start to a season in Australian Rugby League history.
Short out wide.
Ridge, quickly, Toovey, Lyons. Lyons knows that they're short out wide. Menzies, will he get there? I don't think he can. Great defence from the Western Reds. Good football in the end as it came to Gardner, and Gardner still, through sheer weight of numbers, scores the try for Manly.
Stand by now for our next magic memory, which flashes back to the first elimination semi-final of 1987. Earlier on in the show, we saw how Balmain tipped South from the 1986 playoff series, and when the same sides met in similar circumstances a year later, revenge was a motivating factor for the Rabbitohs. Thanks to the slick combination of halves Craig Coleman and Phil Blake, Souths obtained their desired result in spite of Balmain's Ross Conlon booting 6 penalty goals from 7 attempts.
I think it's one of the Blakes.
And now for the very last of our 200 magic memories. A drum roll should be